This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Alright, no straight roads. We'll keep this short and sharp because there's not a huge amount to say and not a lot of it is good. Now, I will admit that I was actually quite interested in this game when I first saw it. I'm generally quite interested in rhythm-based games, like that's just always something I've liked. And so, you know, the presentation captured me, the music captured me, the promise of sort of rhythm-based gameplay, you know, captured my attention and I was like, cool, let's take a look. I didn't play the demo that was on the Epic Games Store because I just wanted to try it fresh. I got review code sent to me. I played through it. I have finished this game now. It's about 5 hours long in total. I think there's about 8 levels, eight stages to play through, plus a hub world to explore. A lot of problems, unfortunately, a lot of problems. Let's start with the basics, okay? No Straight Roads is ultimately it tries to be a rhythm-based combat game, right? So you have two characters that you're controlling at any one time. One of them is a guitarist, the other one is a drummer. And they both have their own kind of attacks, but which are very, very similar. And you switch between them, or you can play co-op 2-player, all right? When you load into the tutorial, it starts talking to you about how enemies only attack on the beat. And it's true, like you'll see them kind of jump up and down in time with the music, and you can dodge their attacks if you time it correctly, okay? And from that, I got the impression of like, cool, this is great. I'm gonna have to sort of attack in time with the music as well, and I get to create music while I play the game. A la games like, you know, Cadence of Hyrule. Or there's a shooting game coming out called BPM very soon, you know, which is like a Doom shooter hybrid where you can only shoot on the beat and it looks fucking sick. Before then, stuff like Rez. Rez is actually one of my favorite games ever, really. Felt so ahead of its time because while you were playing that game, you were making music. It was just incredible. Go back and play it if you haven't. I thought No Straight Roads would be that, okay? It's not that at all. It is a case of some enemies do move with the beat. The levels will sometimes move with the beat, but it never really asks you to fight with that beat, and you never are really able to create music while you're playing, so it kind of seems like this world is moving in rhythm, but you're just there messing up the song. Like, that's the easiest way to describe it. Like, there's a beat that's happening, and it's like you're the one that's out of syncopation, you know, because you can attack whenever you like, whoever you like. It just really messes with what I think could have been a really cool concept beyond what it actually is. If combat was actually good, I think I would be less concerned about its lack of, you know, rhythm. It's really, really bad combat. You know, first of all, the characters are really poorly animated in terms of like, there's just not enough frames in their movements and they feel really janky. When you try and attack things, they'll often just swing past them. When you try and jump straight up, you'll inexplicably move. The control of the character does not feel smooth and enjoyable. It feels like a lot of work to make them do what you want them to do, right? So yeah, combat generally is just you spamming one button most of the time to attack. You are able to fire projectiles if you pick up notes off the ground, but they're auto-targeted, so you literally just hold down the left bumper and it automatically fires them. There's some special moves which are really weird because these special moves are a combination of like single target big damage or AoE or like a healing ability, but the damage stuff is so out of place because there's never enough enemies on screen to justify it. Like, nothing has enough health that you would need these big single target damage nukes, and simultaneously there's only ever like 3 or 4 enemies on screen all of the time, so there's never really need for these big AoE clear abilities. They're abilities that feel like they would be right at home in a 2D side-scroller brawler or a 3D action game, beat 'em up, whatever. They feel really out of place here. It just feels like they had to make some abilities, so they made some, but they don't really fit or work. There's also some super moves that you can use, which, you know, whatever, I don't know, they just do some stuff. Overall, combat really, really disappointing. It never really feels good. I think in combination with this is general encounter design. So the way to think about this game is there's 3 parts to it, right? There's an open world hub, which we'll come back to. Then there are the sort of levels that lead up to the boss, and they're usually divided into about 8 or 9 stages. And you are just pushing forward through those. Now, you can't actually spin your camera in these, it's fixed position most of the time, and that's a real pain in the ass, because a lot of the time you can't see what's going on around you, and yeah, it just sucks. Like, it really does feel very restrictive and limiting. The final part are the bosses. And these bosses look fantastic. Like, you're seeing some of the footage here of them, and you're running around them in circles like you're on, you know, Mixed X, and you're on a stage against a pianist. You're in an art gallery going through some psychedelic thing. Really great presentation, but the mechanics themselves are just, you don't really do much. You just kind of dodge a few things, and then you just have to stand on top of some other stuff and hold down a button to like convert it into a little turret and it fires for you. You just go through the motions with this stuff and that's it, right? Again, you feel like the developers are trying to create a situation where you are creating music while you are doing this. And sometimes it works, like in this pianist boss in particular, this concert, the song really works here and it really does feel like you're creating something while you're playing. But that's pretty much the only time when that clicks together. The rest of it just feels really awkward. This game is obsessed with presentation. And it's actually its best and worst feature, okay? On the downside, presentation harms this game massively because, yeah, you can't switch your camera, you can't see what's going on around you a lot of the time. A lot of the boss's abilities and animations are framed in a specific way to make them look really cool, but it's not fun to play against that or with that or in that or whatever, you know? It looks really flashy, but it's a real pain in the ass to play, I'll tell you that much. There is a hub world outside of all that stuff that allows you to explore. The way it works is that you pick up these little canisters of energy and then you can turn on the street lights. And if you turn on the street lights, eventually you get more fans, and those fans can then be used to give you points in the skill tree, okay? Exploring the city streets is pretty cool at first, but every time you finish a mission, you get put back to the very start of these city streets, and you need to run through all of them every single time to get to your next location. It becomes really repetitive needlessly. There are some sort of things that open up as you gain more powers, so you might start at the beginning and there's a locked door, but eventually you can unlock it, but often there's just nothing behind those locked doors. There's no point to it. Cool concept, I guess, but really poorly executed. Again, the city looks spectacular. I loved walking around it and looking at it the first time, but when I had to walk past parts of it the 7th time, I was like, okay, I'm not really down for this, you know? What's really weird about this game is the story, okay? Now, the premise for this game is that you are in this city-state, whatever, and rock has been outlawed, and now EDM rules, man. It's all about that EDM, okay? And there's this big company called NSR, and they say only EDM, and that's what powers the city, okay? Electricity, they get their electricity from EDM. And you are a rock duo, and you want to bring rock back. So what do? You start, you know, playing gigs and whatever, taking down the EDM bad guys, what have you. The thing is though, this game gets really allegorical really fast, right? It starts talking about like, hey, rock music, let's bring it back. But you eventually realize that this whole thing is sort of a metaphor for like authoritarianism, democracy, one-party systems in government. They really do wax lyrical about this stuff. You know, some of the boss encounters later on, some of the chats you have with people on the street, really go deep into the idea of like whether or not NSR is really has the people's best interests at heart, and the importance of protecting order over the individual's free choice to listen to what they want to listen to. It's a lot, man. Like, and that's not me reaching in trying to find the politics because I want to talk about that. It's really in your face. Like, it really is, and it's kind of a bummer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with games being political. I'm not one of those people that's like, keep games, fuck off. No, if games want to be political, cool, let them do that. But this one is just kind of a bummer because you've got this really bright, happy world and all this like boppy music and shit. And then you have these weird monologues or soliloquies or dialogues about representative democracy and whether NSR has the right to tell its people what they should and shouldn't like. And it lays it on really thick, really long discussions, really long cutscenes, and it just doesn't work. I don't know. I remember Jet Set Radio having a kind of anti-authoritarian streak running through it, but it kind of balanced that really well. It kind of felt like you were fighting the man, and it was very much about the music and like the vibrancy and the game, you know? This one feels like they wanted to make a statement about single-party systems or corporate power or something. And as I said, it kind of just really drags down the energy of the game. The cutscenes do not match the energy of the gameplay that you are seeing, and I don't think most people will like that. I certainly didn't. Voice acting also is really not great. Like, it's very, very flat, and some of the characters just sound awful. Like, why were they cast that way? Like, the main villain in particular, this very flat, monotone performance.
Listen here, Cliff. I don't give a damn about you, understand?
The drummer dude, Zook, again, like no personality, just not good.
Oh, we're gonna bunker, we're gonna junker, and we're gonna bam in their faces!
Yes!
Oh, it's also just not finished, by the way. Like, that's the other thing. On some of the bosses, for example, you're doing something. Like this example here, where I'm running down this long thing to get to the boss, and you think at this point that when I reach the end of this big runway, after all this build-up, there'd be something cool that happens. Nothing happens. It just flashes to the end screen where I've collected something. Just like whatever was meant to happen there was just cut. The last boss is really unfinished and broken. She keeps repeating dialogue that she shouldn't be saying, and some of the phases don't work properly. And the very last encounter of the game just feels super phoned in. Like they just had no ideas whatsoever with what to do with that. So they just did something, and that was it. I firmly believe this game was not finished. Connected with the feeling of it being unfinished is general performance. I really struggled to get this thing to boot. When it did boot, it always booted up my Valve Steam VR. I don't know why, because I booted it from the Epic Game Store, but it would constantly boot Steam VR and it would have all these problems. I had quite a bit of frame stutter. I had 1 or 2 crashes, and yeah, it's not well optimized, I tell you that much. And I'm running on a 2080 Ti, and I still had pretty shaky performance sometimes, so don't expect anything great from a performance front either. Here's the thing though, right? I played this game for about 5 hours. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't hate it. I really didn't. As I said earlier, its presentation is its best and worst feature, because it's so obsessed with making things look cool that it hurts gameplay. Okay, it definitely does. However, everything looks fucking cool, and I liked just the visual spectacle of the game. I really enjoyed seeing the imagination on display of these artists and the world they've built. I really loved some parts of the city. I just thought they were awesome. I loved some of the levels I was moving through. You know, I love the presentation. I really did. And the music's also pretty good too. Like, it's not fantastic. I don't want to go away and listen to the OST now, but it's pretty solid. And I definitely enjoyed some of the tracks quite a bit. And I was like, cool, that's great. So, you know, I don't score games, but if I was to score this one, just to like provide some context, this is like a 5 out of 10 for me, but it's like a 5 out of 10 with a smile, you know, because I didn't dislike it. I don't recommend it to you, okay? I don't recommend you buy this, but if you can get it on Game Pass eventually, if it ever comes to that, or you can get it really cheap somewhere. If you like the visual style and you're interested in the music, I think you might enjoy it a little bit. You know, as I said, it's 5 hours, it's short and sweet. I've definitely played worse games, I've played a hell of a lot better stuff, but overall, you know, it's okay. It's just got a lot of problems, and I think if you can accept those problems and focus on its presentation and its music, you might have a good time. Other than that though, steer clear, sadly. So that's No Straight Roads. It's coming out on the PC, on Epic Games. It's coming out on PS4, on the Xbox One, and on Switch. Check it out if you want. That's all I got for you. Guys, before we go, I want to talk to you about Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is a website that you can go to learn how to do things that you're passionate about and potentially even just make a career out of it if that's what you want. So for example, let's say you want to be a YouTuber, but you don't know where to start. Skillshare would be the best place to begin. So I've already gone through Skillshare and I found some courses that I think would be really great to check out if you were looking to make a start on YouTube. So all I would need to do is go to My Classes and then My Lists. And now I've got my YouTube Starter Pack, which is a collection of courses that I think is perfect for, you know, this crazy business. You might want to get started with Stand Out on YouTube, Build a Successful Channel with Jazza, which is a guy talking about how to build a presence on YouTube, understanding things like clickbait and how to find an audience and whatever else. Once you've covered that, you might want to think about how you want to write. And then there's this one, Going Viral, Write, Film, and Make Content People Share. So then check that out. You might learn how to write better and you might start scripting and think, cool, I'm ready to go. After that, it's time to start filming. At that point, you might want to check out Video on a Budget, Prepare for your shoot without breaking the bank, which is exactly what it says. All the information you'll need on how to do a basic video shoot without spending $1 million. Once you've recorded that content, you then need to edit it. And of course, there's something here on Skillshare to teach you how to do that. There's video editing with Adobe Premiere Pro for beginners. It's a 3-hour course that will get you started. You don't need advanced editing skills to be able to make a start on YouTube. You just need the basics. This is going to give you that and probably a little bit more. But what good is content without a clickbait thumbnail to go with it? And to do that, you need to use Photoshop. And again, there's a course here teaching you how to use Photoshop, and off you go. And then finally, if you feel like, all right, cool, I know I have these basic skills in place, but maybe you're lacking a little bit of motivation to keep on the grind, because believe me, YouTube is a very big grind. There's a course on productivity right here that's like, hey, be more productive. Productivity Masterclass, create custom system that works. So there you go. That's just like how to get started on YouTube, all facilitated through Skillshare. Those are just examples as well. There are dozens and dozens of courses for each of those topics I just talked about. The entire website is full of them, and I think it's a really great place to go if you are serious about, you know, learning about something that you're really passionate about, and as I said, potentially even turning that into a career. Skillshare is running a deal right now where the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description below will get 2 months of premium for free. That's a great deal, and even beyond that, it's a steal to subscribe to Skillshare because it's only like $10 a month for an annual membership. That's a bargain at twice the price. As I said, this is a great time for us to use our time indoors to better ourselves and create opportunities for ourselves if we like. Skillshare is perfect for that. Check it out, guys. Click the link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Skillshare, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.